Hey everyone, so in this video we are going to take a look at the free-to-use 3D modeling application MagicaVoxel, which is available on GitHub. So in this video we're going to look at a few more tools that are in the UI that I hadn't mentioned before and do a little bit deeper dive on another one that I had mentioned. So let's talk about the pre-made primitive shapes and then the custom library. So there are two different ways to access a pre-made shape, at least directly in the UI, other than actually loading one up. If you have saved a project in the Vox folder, it will automatically show up here. So you can see some of the ones I've worked on: arrow, broom, sword. So like if I click on sword, that should look familiar if you've watched my previous videos. Ring, that should look familiar if you've watched my previous videos. So when you save your project, if you save it in the Vox folder, it automatically shows up here in the UI, and I'm a really big fan of this because it's one of my pet peeves that a lot of applications like 3D Builder, they'll have a bar at the top and there are some shapes on it, but there's no way to add other shapes. You actually have to go to File Explorer and navigate for where it is. If you could just bake it right into the UI, then that would be very helpful, very convenient, and that's what this application has done. Now, there's another way to get pre-made shapes, and that's down here. Now, whereas these are whatever you've made, these are 6 predefined shapes. You can make a few variations, which we'll cover. So, the main difference between these and these, the reason why they're not just consolidated into one tool set rather than breaking up into two, these will scale based on the size of your project. So if I open up sword, it will open up to whatever it is. But if this is, say, 20, 20, 20, and then I click on the top one to make a sphere, you get a sphere. But if I turn this to, say, 100, 100, 100, okay, you can see that's what the original size was. But if I click on this again, you can see it made a much bigger one with greater fidelity. In fact, if you go big enough, this might not even look voxel. So depending on what you're trying to do, you might be able to extend the usability of this tool. Now, while we're talking about scale and size, you can actually modify the shape by not having a square. So this one, all sides are the same, 100, 100, 100. Now, if I were to change one right now, you would actually cut part of this off. So you could actually use it like a slice tool. I don't know if it corrupts anything. I haven't seen any error messages. I've just been kind of playing around, so you could do that. So I changed that one to 50, and now you have a nice hemisphere. And then you could start, say, burrowing this out. But anyways, say we do, instead of 100, 150, let's do 40, let's do 40, 40, 80. Okay, so it's elongated. Now watch what happens. So rather than making a sphere, it's really an ovoid. I believe that's the proper term. So it's more like a capsule. So you've basically taken a sphere and you've modified it into a couple different shapes already. We saw how to slice it and turn it into like a hemisphere, and this turns it into like a capsule. And again, you could just come up here, click on save, save it in the Vox file, and then it will show over here. Now, let's go to cylinder. You could turn this into, say, like a half pipe. So you could do, say, erase and then facing, and then just start clicking facing, or just kind of drag down. Actually, don't drag down, it kept the same facing. Although that would give you the way to hollow it out easily if you're looking to do that. So a teachable moment, I made a mistake and learned something at the same time. So you could turn this into like a half pipe. So you cut it down to here and now you hollow it out. And if you hollow it out, then it looks like a half pipe, or you could leave it like this. Maybe it's meant to be like half of a log for a wood pile. So again, it's not just having these primitives, it's how you can then modify the primitives into the shapes that you need. Okay, so we did the sphere, we did the cylinder. Now let's do the pyramid. Now, because this is really relatively small, this might be too small to use as a pyramid, so you might have to bump this up to a much bigger size like 256, which is the maximum you can do. Okay, so, but something like this, you may want this to be, say, an arrowhead. So if we make this even bigger, say like, let's make it 256. Okay, so if we rotate this, so let's go to rotate, and let's actually Control A to select everything. So that's typical Windows soft key, Control A. And then we rotate Z. Nope. Rotate Y. There we go. So now you can just like have the arrow coming out of this. So that's the arrowhead. So you could just take, say, box, choose like a brown, make this centered-ish. And I'm clicking on erase. Let's try that again. Attach box. And then you can just take the facing and extend that out. You can just hold and keep going. So just like that, you've taken what is meant to be your pyramid and you've turned it into an arrowhead. And now you can just like put the feathers, whatever, if there's a proper term for it. My apologies, I know nothing about archery. But you could just take line and it's set at attach and whatever, make them like gray. And then it's just drawing lines. Actually, let's make this too wide so it's centered. So since it's too wide, we can just use box. And then you just let's just clean that up because I made a boo-boo. So erase. Again, I probably shouldn't be worried since I'm just trying to do a simple demonstration. So back to box, back to attach, and then you just keep there. So you have this kind of feather-ish shape, and then you just repeat whether it's on 2 sides or 4 sides. I'm not going to do them all, just trying to give you basic ideas, whereas the other ones were actually trying to make complete projects. So just like that, you started with a pyramid and you turned it into an arrowhead and you're making an arrow. So let's see what else we have. Let's actually make this square again. And let's go to the next one. So cone, you could use this for an arrowhead as well, so I won't do that again. You could also maybe slice off the top and then hollow it out, turn it into a funnel. And one of the things that you can do with, actually you could do it with some of the other ones too, you can actually just move this. So if I do Control A to select it all, and I grab the transition or move tool, depends what application you're talking about, I can just slide this, and now I've split it in half. Now this one doesn't look like much of anything. If this was the pyramid, it would kind of look like maybe the inside of a voxel mouth, like for an enemy. So let's just go back to pyramid for a second. There, that looks better. So that you could use for like maybe a bird or something. But again, that's the idea, is that they give you the primitives and then you build upon it. So again, with the cone, maybe you could cut off the top. You could hollow out the side, turn it into a funnel. Maze. Other than looking like a Borg cube, I'm not quite sure what you would do with this. Maybe if you're just looking to have like a complex 3D shape in the background, you could use this. It says it's a maze, but I really don't see how you would use it as a maze. And then this one. To me, this one doesn't look like particularly anything, but maybe you would have some interesting effects if you move it around. Anyways, so whenever you modify your shape, like I said, make sure to save it. It'll show up here, and again, nope, don't want to save. So there's the ring, there's the sword, there's a different arrow when I was testing, so that one actually has 2 on it. So I think that's about it for this video. I just wanted to let you know that these primitives do exist and that you can then modify them as you can, like we said, you make them a certain size, but then you scale the box down, and that way it cuts off maybe some of the stuff you don't want. Or you can move the shape around so it gets sliced like what we did with the pyramid. Or in this case, we flipped the pyramid over, turned it into an arrow. I'm a big fan of having lots of primitives, and it saves you a lot of time. And like I said, there's already a few built-in ones, the 3x3, the 8x8, and you can just keep adding. If there's certain shapes that you find you're going to use a lot, just keep putting them in there. Okay, so I think that should do it for this video. If there's anything you'd like to see, please leave a comment. I'll probably keep doing this series for some time. Each one is its own video, so it's not like it's part of a project. And I don't think that I'm going to be covering 3D Builder much more. I don't know if Microsoft has officially stopped support on it, but they came so close to having something that's great for indie developers to use, but they didn't quite get it over the finish line. There's a few oddities where if you change the color on a shape and then you export it, that color doesn't transfer for some reason. And there's a few other things that I don't like about it. So I might make a separate quick video about that. I probably won't cover 3D Builder anymore, and I'll probably focus on this one because for the 3D Builder, or should I say 3D modeling, I'm really trying to focus on the free-to-use ones. Again, trying to give some support to the indie space as far as letting you know what's out there, letting you know what to use. And probably 3D modeling is the single biggest challenge because even something like Blender that's free to use, it takes a lot to get just a little bit out of that. So anyways, I hope that you found this helpful. Leave any comments for anything that you'd like to see, and please enjoy the rest of your day.